Cold water bass fishing often gets labeled as too hard, the bass are not active, or the bass are only hanging out in super deep water. But those statements are misleading, and so often they can be wrong. Cold water bass can move shallow all winter right where you can catch them. Let me show you what happened here on this bay. Now, a lot of you saw the footage of me standing in front of this same bay last week. Everything was completely iced over. And when we get several days of really cold weather, the life in here vanishes. It's only about 8 feet deep in the middle, and all of the fish move a short distance to the mouth of the bay and into some really deep water. However, we then got about 3 to 4 days of a warming trend. But here's the most important part. Most of those days had some sunshine. In fact, the ice, as you can see along the shore, started to pull away. There's a little bit left out in the middle. And look what happened. There are now bass and other forms of life all over this little bay. But here's the key. They were traveling back and forth along the deepest portion of this bay, which, as I mentioned, is anywhere from that 7 to 8 foot mark. Now, keep in mind, the water temp, according to my camera, at this depth was still a frigid 37 degrees. But there are fish all over in here, and they are moving. If you think of this bay kind of like a bowl between the two shorelines, they were moving along the bottom of that bowl, back and forth, going each direction. Where they were not was on the sides of the bay or the sides of the bowl. Now, if we continued to have a couple of more sunny days, I'm sure they would have started to move even shallower, even to the point of really shallow water, warming themselves on hard cover or a structure. Now, I say the deepest part, but 7 to 8 foot is not deep by any means for bass anglers, and there are so many presentations that can work this area effectively. Now, as I said, my water here in the middle still has some ice in it, but if your waters don't freeze over, these fish are extremely accessible if this trend happens where you live of a few days of sunny, warmer weather. When cold water bass are exposed to that sunshine, it is an absolute game changer, and they will respond much faster than bass anglers often realize. And that is the part that we can't ignore. It doesn't take much sunshine to get these cold water bass moving to new areas. And as anglers, we often will fish the spots they were and not the spots they are going to. In other words, it's easy for us to react to that movement well after the fact. Now, in this situation I have here, you can imagine how enticing a little Ned rig or a finesse jig crawling slowly along the bottom would look. The water this time of year is often the clearest it will be, and those bass will notice something scooting along the bottom. Their extreme curiosity will draw them in to investigate. Now, it may take a little longer than in the heat of the summer, but they will come and check it out. We are supposed to get cold again this week, but if I get the chance, I want to check this spot out once more and see if more bass and or bigger bass start to move into this area as well. The smaller bass always seem to be the first ones that react. And hey, if you like bass behavior type stuff, be sure to check out my bass behavior bundle. I have 33 videos in that library. It's growing all the time. The link is below. Join us for a month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever. It's a great way to support the channel. And if you'd like to watch a video about the best soft jerkbait rigging method, comparing side by side two traditional rigging styles, go ahead and check this one out right here. And make sure that you go ahead and encourage someone today. You never know how you might just change their life. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.